Oh wow, oh my gosh, I just noticed as I was there is a human skull here. Y'all see that? Oh my gosh. In last week's episode, we spent a day at what may have been the finest historical institution in all of China, the Henan Museum, and saw a number of memorable national treasures spanning over 2,000 years of Chinese history. Today, we continue the journey up north into the Ying ruins. It's here where we will find the oldest excavated imperial tomb in all of China. It is also here where the earliest form of Chinese writing was discovered. Today, the Ying ruins sit on the outskirts of a city. 3,300 years ago, it was the Shang capital, and we can't wait to take you inside. Good morning, y'all. Look at where I am. Look at this. Look at where I am. I am standing in front of the entrance of Yinxu, the Yin ruins. The last episode, I told y'all I'd be here. I made it here. Look at this. We're here. Now, I gotta keep my voice down because they're doing some type of performance over here. Look at all these people standing neatly in a row. They got drones. They got photographers. They doing something over here. But that's not important. We came here for this, for the Ying ruins. We came to see the Ying ruins today. Now let's look at the map here. I'm gonna give y'all an example of what exactly it is we're here to see today, why this is so important, how the heck did we exactly get here, because it wasn't easy to get here, and how important this place is. Look at this. UNESCO World Heritage Site, guys. Triple, quadruple, 5A site. Not 3, not 4, not 5. 5 A's. 5A national site, UNESCO World Heritage Site, where we're standing right here. Yinxu. So why is this so important? Now let me calm myself down for a second. Why is this so important? Inducted into the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2006. Why is that so important? Well, because this is the oldest dynasty capital that's been verified by historical records in all of China. The Shang Dynasty capital. You got a lot of capitals in China, right? A lot of capitals. You got Beijing, which is the current capital, but it was also the capital of the Qing Dynasty. It was later the capital of the Ming Dynasty. And then you got Nanjing, you got Kaifeng, you got Luoyang, you got Zhengzhou, you got all these cities that were at one point or the other the capital of a or multiple dynasties. Shang Dynasty over here, their capital was here for a brief period of time. Not a brief period of time. By brief period of time, I mean in the context of Chinese history, because that's over 3,000 years old. Now, in this case, when you look at this, the Shang Dynasty, right? They are the earliest Chinese dynasty that has historical written records. What do I mean by that? There's actually another dynasty before the Shang. They're called the Xia Dynasty. We are still in debate, and we haven't found any writing, so we can't actually confirm where exactly their capital was. Now, if we take a look at this map, we're about to go in a second. I'll give y'all more information later on, but take a look at this. This is where we're standing right here. We're looking at this gate right here. Y'all see this? This is where we're standing right here. This is a big area. This is a big area. And give you some context about where we are. Y'all see all this? We're actually in a city. We're in the city of Anyang. This is a city of about 6 million people. Inside the city proper, about 2.5 million people. The entire place, 6 million people. So you can see that not only is it the capital of a traditional Chinese dynasty, it's also a very sizable city today. 6 million people living in the proper. So that's not bad. All right, so this is our game plan for the day. And I'm gonna show y'all what are some extremely important things that we need to see. And during this episode, I'm gonna be referring to a few things from the last episode. So y'all gotta keep that in mind. Check out the last episode if you want some more context. We're standing here. we're going to see this entire place. Most important of which is this. This is Fu Hao's tomb. The only Shang Dynasty tomb never to be robbed by grave robbers. Let me repeat that again. The only Shang Dynasty imperial tomb never to be robbed. Y'all know how in Egypt they have all the pharaoh tombs, and Tutankhamun, King Tut, his tomb was the only one that was never robbed. Well, this one is basically the Chinese version of King Tut. This tomb has never been robbed. And if you look back at the last episode, when we were at the Henan Provincial Museum in Yinxu City, which is the capital of Henan Province today, we actually saw pieces, national treasure level pieces, tier 1 pieces, tier 1 protected pieces that came out of this tomb because it was never robbed. So it was kept perfectly intact. The day that it was buried is the day when they unearthed it. Now there are some very, very important things that we also need to see. We need to see the oracle bone pit. This is extremely important, and hopefully when we go into this pit they'll have some oracle bones on display so I can do a better job of explaining why the oracle bones are so important. And here you got some more oracle bone steels. We're going to look at those as well. We're going to look at some chariot pits, we're going to look at the museum, and then we're going to look at this as well. We're going to look at everything. We're going to look at everything. Okay, so I'm estimating this will probably take me two to 3 hours to get through. I think take 2 to 3 hours to get through everything. So we just gotta 2 to 3 hours plus. Maybe we will go to. There's another site that's included in your ticket. Y'all keep that in mind. Oh, by the way, how much is this ticket? I'm trying to gather my train of thought here. The ticket was 70 yuan. So less than $10 at today's exchange rate. Less than $10. It actually includes this entire area. And then you go to a different area that's outside of this map. And the car ride, the bus ride there is also included. We're going to see how we're doing on time. Because I'm gonna tell y'all how I got here this morning. I took a carpool here and it took 2.5 hours to get here. I came here from Yinxu City. 2.5 hours to get here. It's going to take me 2.5 hours to get back because I'm not sleeping here tonight. So we got to make it out of the city by maybe 7 or 8 p.m. so I can get back to Yinxu tonight. So this is why we're going to be smart with our time. Probably going to spend 2 to 3 hours here, see how we're doing on time, and then get something to eat, and then maybe see if we can make it to the other site as well. So super excited. Take a look at this front gate again. That's where we're going to go in. Over there where that lady is standing, that's where we're going to get our ticket checked and we're going to begin our day. I'm super excited to show you guys this. This is a promise kept. I was at the Henan Provincial Museum. I said to y'all, I'm going to take y'all to the site where the Ying ruins are. I said this to y'all. I'm not a liar. I told y'all I was going to do this. We here. Look at this. You can't make this up. This is not CGI. Look at this. We here. This is beautiful. We're going to go in. Let's go. We made it inside, y'all. Look at this. All right, briefly stopping at the map again. We're here. I wanted to go into this museum here, which is actually underground. How cool is that? This is an underground museum. Can't do it right now because they ran out of electricity. They don't have electricity right now. No, I'm not making this up. They don't have electricity at this place. They had a temporary outage, so there's probably not going to be any lights here unless they have a backup generator. So we're going to do the things outdoor first. We're going to do the outdoor things first, and then we'll go into the museum. But let's go in here first. But this should also be an underground structure because this is her actual tomb that we're going to get to see. Fu Hao, the great female general from the Shang Dynasty. So I'm actually trying to figure out where I should go first, given that they don't have electricity. That's very interesting. When you're on the road, you run into different things. I didn't think I would run into a place that didn't have electricity, but as you can see, it's in the middle of the day, so that shouldn't be too important. You know what? Let's actually go into the museum first and see what the situation is, if they'll let us in, and if not, if maybe they have a backup generator. So let's make our way there. Y'all, I just made a right. I just took a right turn. Look at that. I was right there. I just made a little right turn. I'm here in front of the museum. I don't see a lot of activity. I don't see a lot of tourists. By the way, light day, not a lot of people, not a lot of tourists. Exactly the way I like it. I love it when I get the place almost to myself. Now this is the way into the museum. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. All right, so this is going to be an underground museum, so you can see this is the structure that's poking out from the ground here, but we're actually going underground. We're going underground. the ticket vendor was telling me, I shouldn't say ticket vendor, the person who was checking ticket at the gate, she was telling me that 80% of the things in here are authentic, real, not reproductions. We're gonna try to go in, see what the situation is. I don't know why they don't have electricity today. Maybe a little malfunction somewhere. But look at this, sloping way, just like a Shang Dynasty or Zhou Dynasty tomb. You will have a sloping way, and you walk slowly into a tomb. Yeah, guys, I don't know about you guys, but I'm fascinated by history. As you can tell, if you're following my channel, I love history, I love culture, and I love to hear stories from local people. And this is why I enjoy traveling. I enjoy going to all these places, and I love bringing you content like this that shows you the best of what the world has to offer. It just so happens that I'm in China right now, and I will be in China for a while. I hope y'all follow me. I hope y'all stay with me as I'm walking down. Like this video if you enjoy it by the end. If you don't like it, well, hopefully the next one will delight you. But please subscribe, follow me if you enjoy my content. But yeah, it's kind of dark now. We're gonna see if we can get in. Yo. All right, y'all, I made it through security and I'm inside. I love it because I don't see anybody else here except the workers, the employees. Beautiful. All right, so we're in the underground museum here. I want to take a look at the map here. Y'all can see we're standing right here. We're standing right here, and there's a lot to see. Oh, there's going to be an exhibition hall of oracle bones. Oh, you guys are in for a treat today. Y'all see that? We're going to see everything there. This is going to be jade, bronzes, capital, great capital, special exhibition. But this is going to be the key for today. Exhibition hall of oracle bones. Can't wait. Let's make our way in. And oh, this is a very important list here. You can see a list of Shang Dynasty kings. First one, second one, they had a total of 31 kings. 31 kings. Notice they don't use the word emperor. They're not emperors, because even though they were, before I get to that, this is also very important. The relocation of Shang capitals as recorded in historical texts. So they actually moved their capital multiple times. Okay? The city that I'm living in, oh, this is, you see, everything I'm explaining, they have a map. I'm here. I'm living in this town right now in a hotel. If you look at some of our earlier episodes, they were done here in Luoyang. And this is where we are. This car ride here this morning took 2.5 hours. I gotta go back to here tonight. I'm here. Gotta go back here. But I'm here. This is also one of the Shang Dynasty capitals. This is also one of the Shang Dynasty capitals because they moved. This is what this wall is saying. They moved the capital. So that's very important because here they also found treasures that are from the Shang Dynasty. Here is where we are. Okay, let's continue moving on. Now, the oracle bones are the most important things that we're going to see today in this museum. Why is that? Because before the late Qing Dynasty, we actually had no archaeological evidence that the Shang Dynasty even existed. Y'all heard that right. Like, the Chinese people will say, you know, we are Xia Dynasty, Shang Dynasty, and then Zhou Dynasty. We have plenty of evidence that Zhou Dynasty existed because they had plenty of artifacts that were dug up that undisputed, prove their existence. But the Shang Dynasty, we couldn't find their capital, we couldn't find their tombs, nor could we find anything that would say, you know what, this matches historical books, historical records, until this site was discovered. This is one of the most important discoveries in the history of Chinese archaeology, and the oracle bones play a big part of that. All right, so if we look at this building right here, I'm going to continue my story later on, but if you look at this building right here, Very similar to what we saw in the last episode, remember? This is very, very early Chinese civilization. You have this hall. Could be an imperial hall, could be where the imperial family lived, but look at how simple it is. Look at how simple it is compared to like the Forbidden City, right? And look at how simple these roofs are. Now, I know this is a modern interpretation, but no tiles, no bricks, just straw. Look at that. So this is a very simple building by modern standards. And if you look at the way this is constructed on the wall, very simple. 4 or 5 buildings here, more buildings over there, running along a river. Why is that important? Because they need water, right? So this is going to be very different from some of the grand structures that you see in later Chinese dynasties, right? Very simple buildings, straw roofs. I wouldn't exactly call this an architectural marvel, but this is what early Chinese civilization lived. You're starting to see structure in the way that they're organizing their buildings. Extremely important. All right, y'all, before we make our way further into the museum, see, I was waiting, I was standing right here, and then like 40 people came in. It was wild. I thought there was no people here today. 40, 50 people came in, a lady on a loudspeaker giving a tour, so we gotta try to avoid that. We're gonna let them see the tour first, and then we'll make our way in so we can have a better recording experience. But I'm standing here at this map that I think is a very good illustration of what exactly is going on and why this place that we've spent, really, if you think about it, you look at our channel, the last many episodes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes on, we've really been focused very much on history. Like, see, some of our episodes is going to be focused on entertainment, parks, theme parks, Universal Studios Beijing, Shanghai Disney, things like that. But these past few episodes have all been very serious and historical in nature, right? Because we're filming, we got to adapt to where we are. And this is where we are. This is a nice map of China. This is all of China that you see right here. Okay, look at this, all of China. Okay, including the 9-dash line. So you see here, this is where we are. Okay, and why is this so important? And this is where we are. This is Yinxu, and we're in the city of Anyang. Why is this so important, guys? Because this is the genesis of the Chinese civilization as you know it today. It all started here. And why did it all start here? Because you notice this is the Yellow River. This is the mother river of the Chinese civilization. The Yellow River runs starting here. And then look at the way it runs. All the way up through Lanzhou, and then boom, boom, boom. Yingchuan, boom, boom, boom. Through Inner Mongolia, and then it comes down, and then it passes through here before it goes into Shandong Province, and it runs into the ocean in Bohai right here. But this is why this part of the country is so important, and why we've been so focused on history, is because this is the genesis of the Chinese civilization right here, this big area. Of course, 2,000-3,000 years later, it was spread and covered everything that you see here. But the modern Chinese identity that you see today, the way we speak, the way we write, it all started here. It all started here. So we've been focused on our last few episodes here. You can't help but stay focused on history, because that's what this place specializes in. They have the best history. This is why. So we're going to continue to make our way in. Now you can see here, very logical, right? Look at the way it starts. Everything that you see here is pottery, right? And what happens to pottery? They break easily. They had to piece it back together like you see here. Unlike bronze has much better structural integrity. Look here. Y'all see these pieces? They break. And also, you look at here, you see some of this color isn't consistent. You got some white, and then you have some brown. Why is that? Because the white is later replacement. It's not original. They can't find those pieces anymore. So they use this brown to piece together as much as they can, and they put new white pottery pieces to fuse it all together to give y'all an idea of what the shape looks like. Y'all see what I'm saying? So here, you can see here, it's all pottery. You don't see any bronze yet. It's all pottery, okay? No bronze. This is going to be very, very early Chinese art. Very early Chinese, not only art, but these things have ceremonial value. They have ceremonial value, right? Like, these are things that not only store food, wine, things like that, but also you use them for different ceremonial occasions. And along the wall, okay, this is y'all see this? Now we're moving from pottery to ivory, animal bones, things like that, animal tusks, and this is made out of bronze. You see the way this woman right here is putting this in her hair? 3,000 years ago, they had hairdressing already, and y'all even see a little necklace right back there. All right, so now you're beginning to see very, very early bronze items here. These are bronze production tools. Look at that. Same thing along here. Bronze production tools, and they look very rough, right? You don't see many decorations on them because you see a little bit of prints on them, but nothing too serious. Why is that? Because it's very early in Chinese civilization and how it's been developing. Now, as we continue to make our way in, I'm going to slow myself down a little bit. Why? Because they wilding back there. They wilding back there. Look at they on the loudspeaker. They wilding. Okay, so I gotta calm down. I gotta slow down, let them pass, and then we'll continue to make our way inside. One more very interesting thing. You see, these are seashells. But what did they use seashells for? Currency. This was their money. So later on, Chinese dynasties, they will have silver, gold, bronze pieces, coins, bars, things like that. Early Chinese civilization, they used seashells as currencies. Very interesting concept, right? Because why is that? Because seashells were very, very rare. I think that's the reason why. Because they are inland. They're in the middle of China. They're nowhere near the ocean. So perhaps these things were very hard to gather and very hard to collect. And this is why they have value as a measure of monetary value, as a currency. You got to be rare, right? Why was gold used as a currency? Because it's rare. You can't just find it walking down the street. You know what I'm saying? Scarcity is very important. So perhaps this is why they use seashells. And you can see here also, look at this detail here. They drilled holes through them. Every single seashell has a hole in it. See, you go into the store, you go into the market to buy something, you got all these seashells bumbling around in your pocket. That's no good. Tie up on a string. This is why they have holes in them, so you could keep track. See, probably the smallest one is going to be like a nickel, a dime, things like that, right? It's going to go move up in value, a quarter, things like that. So I think that's how they kept measure of how much money they had. Tie it up on a string and then go shopping. I thought this here was super interesting because today we don't have many pieces. We probably don't have any pieces of drawings or paintings or photos. We certainly don't have photos, but do we have any paintings? Do we have anything like that from the Shang people to know how they looked? We really don't. So you got to look at things like this to try to kind of figure out what exactly did these people look like. Do they look like modern Chinese people? Or do they look different? And if so, if you look at these people here, right? Look at their cheekbones, how exaggerated that is. Right? A V-shaped face. And look at this is probably a better illustration here. You see this guy right here. A V-shaped jaw, very high cheekbones, and huge ears. Is that exactly how they look like? Or is this a artistic representation of how they look like, or is this maybe a deity that they worship, right? So these are the only things that you have left that you can try to surmise perhaps what these people look like. Oracle bones have writing on them. They don't exactly have photos or self-portraits. So you sometimes have to rely on these things in order to figure out what did they look like, and then you may not even get the right answer because simply it's all conjecture. It's all conjecture. That's what happens when you have a very ancient civilization. Now, you see, look, pottery making, and this is very early pottery making in Shang Dynasty. But if we want to talk about how early the pottery making start in China, very, very early. I'm talking about early Tao culture, even before the Shang Dynasty. We're talking, look at all these tools here. We're talking people that we assign them names. Like, I can't even think of any names at the top of my head, but you have civilizations. When I say civilization, I really mean large tribes that were spread out throughout China. You know, maybe 30,000 people living here, 20,000 people living here. They're spread out. And you assign them a name because they don't have any historical records. They don't have any historical records that talk about what their names were, things like that. So you got to keep that in mind. Shang Dynasty is the first one where we have a clear, very clear picture of who the king is. Where was their capital? Other civilizations, we only have fragments of what they've made. So you try to give them a name and you move on, right? And you dig more. Until the day you can find writing, the only thing you can do is guess. That's the only thing you can do. All right, y'all see this? This is an axe. Very, very early pottery making. You look at this, you see the texture on this is, frankly speaking, compared to later spring and autumn periods, Warring States period, even the Zhou Dynasty, this is very rough looking. You don't see a lot of art here, right? You only see some decorations here and there and some large patterns. The finer patterns they are, the harder it is to make. So this right here is just old. It's really, really old. But you can see the technology. If you look at our last episode again, it's going to progress, get better and better, nicer and nicer looking as you progress in time. And that makes sense, right? That makes sense because technology improves. Check out the first iPhone versus the current iPhone, right? And why is this also important to see these things? Because now you're beginning to see sophisticated bronze pieces. These are sophisticated what is this? Sophisticated bronze pieces. What is that? That's a hand, y'all. Y'all see this? There's no explanation of what this is, but I believe this is a hand that is made out of bronze. And there's no literature here, nothing like that. So let's keep moving on, but that was cool. But as you get to this part, you get this part right here, you're beginning to see very, very sophisticated bronze pieces. So we're moving away from pottery now. People are now entering the Bronze Age. Look at this. The shape of this is complete, right? And this was unearthed in 2001, right here. So look at that. And then now you move over here, it's larger. It's even bigger, but what's more important, let me zoom in. You'll see what I'm talking about. Look at the finer details here. Remember on that axe just now, they only had a couple marks here and there. This entire thing is covered in marks. Everywhere. Technology is improving. More and more pieces. And now you don't just see big tripods, you don't just see big vessels, you're starting to see smaller drinking vessels. Much harder to make. This is much harder to make. Why? Because they are more, I mean, you got to think about it, right? Is it easier to build a huge 50, 60 millimeter watch with functions? I'm talking about a watch that goes on your wrist, or is it easier to make a 30 millimeter watch that goes on your wrist? Of course, it's going to be the smaller one. Why is that? Because you got to fit just as many parts, if not more, into a smaller shell, less room and margin for error. Look at that. Try to read the literature here. Look at that. It's very incredible. Very incredible. You got more along the wall here. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit, and here's the reason why. The highlight of today being here is Fu Hao's tomb and also oracle bones. And this is the first animal sign. This is the animal. First animal I've seen today. Made out of bronze. This is beautiful. This is a oxen, a cow. Look at that. So now we progressed well into the Bronze Age where they're able to make not only shapes of vessels, but also animals. And this is actually, look at that lid. This is used to store things. Water, food, ceremony, used in the ceremony, things like that. This is incredible. This is a very incredible piece. That is really beautiful. Oh wow. Okay, y'all see this right here? So this means that this piece was, this is a national treasure right here. Whenever you see this sign right here, y'all see this sign right here? This means it's a national treasure. I've seen this before at Chinese museums. Whenever they put one of these next to something like this, it means it's a national treasure. Look at this. Beautiful. But not all museums do it. I don't believe the Henan Provincial Museum did it, but this place does it. All right, we'll continue to make our way forward. Now you see here, this entire room is made out of bronze. This entire room, everything in here is bronze. More bronze pieces. Is absolutely beautiful. This is very, very beautiful. Look at that. Now, look at this. Y'all see the level of detail here? Look at that. You see these things? Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And these patterns are different too. It's like the two corners are a bird. The one in the middle is a mystical figure. So not only have they mastered making bronze, but they're now making all kinds of complicated shapes. I noticed this from a distance. So think about that. I probably walked for 20 seconds, 30 seconds from the entrance to here. It took about 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes to explain, but look at how much technology has improved, right? Look at how sophisticated this is. Look at that. What do y'all think this is? I was debating with myself because I thought this thing has elements of so many different animals. The head almost looks like a rabbit, an oxen. I don't know what these two antennas are for. It almost looks snail-like, like a snail. But the ears, they don't look like, I don't know. This must be a mystical animal that the Shang Dynasty people worshipped. Look at the level of detail here. Now let's see if it says anything here. It doesn't say what animal this is, but I remember on the last episode, we saw the same shape. We saw the same mystical animal multiple times in the Henan Museum. So again, this animal must have been very important to them. A mystical figure. I'm going to keep making our way forward. More pieces here. Oh wow, oh my gosh, I just noticed as there is a human skull here. Y'all see that? Oh my gosh. You could clearly see the teeth, the eye socket. That's incredible. And then you could see, the reason I noticed that is I saw the feet bones here first, right down here. And then these are the legs. And it looks like he's being covered, he or she is being covered in something. And then there's the head. Wow. Much respect to you. Rest in peace. All right, y'all. I'm walking into the jade room. So you're going to see some remaining pieces of bronze all along the walls here. But we're entering the jade hall, where you're going to see some very, very fine pieces of jade. This is very important. Jade is a prized possession, is a prized metal in Asian cultures. China, Vietnam, Cambodia. We love jade. We've always loved jade. And you can see this tradition goes back 3,000 years ago. They've loved jade for a long, long time. And by the time we're in the Shang Dynasty, not only do you have jade, you actually have shapes. Look at this. These are dragons. Okay, and I know some of y'all may think, well, I thought jade was green. Well, it is green. Check out this piece right here. It is green. Well, it's blue because of the light, but this is green. And then the other ones, they all vary in different colors. You have light white, you have almost rice color, you have slightly brown, as you see here. I know the blue light is not making it easy for y'all to distinguish this, but jade comes in many, many different forms. Now, what I think is so important, so crucial about why this is so well done is because look at the shapes that they were able to make with these pieces of jade as early as 3,000 years ago. So again, talk about the continuity of the Chinese culture. That's such an important thing to understand. continuous culture, world's longest continuous civilization. So many of the things that the Chinese ancestors, the Chinese early dynasties that they enjoyed, they loved, they saw as status symbols, today continue to be status symbols. Look at this. That's clearly a fish. Clearly a fish. And that's what I love about this, because this room, you don't need to be a genius in order to understand what's going on. And you do need to be a genius to understand what is going on in this next room, because that's the highlight. This is the oracle bone section, aka the writing hall. The writing hall here. All right, so we're actually going to start on the wall because there's just so much information. I actually snuck in here before I shot this video. Like 10 minutes ago, I came in here, I did a little tour myself just to understand what the heck is going on so I can give y'all a good explanation. First thing, look at this wall right here. This is a translation chart. What do I mean by that? Look at this. These are modern Chinese letters. Everything on the last. Like for example here, this one. This one. This one. These are all Chinese letters. This means river. River. He. Luo. And then above is going to be how they looked in oracle bone form. So this is what I mean when I was telling you, look, even if you are a fluent English speaker, you try to read original Shakespeare, you try to read Beowulf, you try to read Finnegan's Wake, you're going to have a really hard time because the way they structure those words. Well, in Chinese, look at this. Do these look alike? Perhaps. Let me find y'all something that do look a little bit alike. This one, for example. This one, for example. Water. Y'all see that? Like, this is the genesis of the Chinese writing system, the Chinese language. That's water. Doesn't that look like a stream with some rocks on each side? Isn't that smart? This is door. Look at this. Doesn't that look just like a door? Early, present, genius. Look at this. This means cup that you would use to boil water, a kettle. This is a kettle. Doesn't that look just like a kettle? It's genius. This is why the Chinese language is so amazing, because it's descended directly from the original form of oracle bones. Who was the one that discovered oracle bones? I have to shout out his name because he doesn't get enough credit. This wall explains it. I have to show y'all this. They have it in English here as well. It was discovered in 1989 by a great man. In 1989, China was still in the late Shang Dynasty. It was a man named Wang Yirong. Y'all see his name right there? Wang Yirong. Who is he? Wang Yirong was actually a Qing Dynasty official in the city of Beijing. So he was a government employee, and he was a very senior official. He collected Zhou Dynasty bronze pieces, many of which had, of course, Chinese writing carved into them. So he was someone who was familiar with early Chinese writing. One day he got sick. He came down with a fever, he got sick, and one of his servants, one of his assistants, went out and bought him what are called longgu, or dragon bones. Like, this guy literally went to a local pharmacy or local medicine shop, a Chinese medicine shop, and said, my master is sick, I need some medication. They prescribed him some oracle bones. And what you do is that with those oracle bones, they were supposed to go home and crush it and make soup out of it and then drink it as medication so that Wang Yirong will get better. But you got to remember, this guy was educated. He not only was educated, he was a government employee, he had education, and he also collected Chinese antiques. As soon as he saw what this servant had brought back from the apothecary, from this pharmacy, he said, no, we can't crush this. We can't crush this, man. This is writing. This is early Chinese writing. This looks just like what I have inscribed on my Zhou Dynasty bronze pieces. You can't crush this. So the research began to find out where they came from. You remember, he was living in Beijing. This is not Beijing. This is Anyang. So people began to figure out, okay, where are these pieces actually? Y'all see this? The electricity, okay, the electricity is back. So they had to figure out, where did these pieces come from? Oh, there it is, gone again, back again. All right, let me continue. These pieces here, they had to find out where they came from. because it certainly didn't come from Beijing. And people were hiding where they were coming from, right? Like imagine you're running a store and you have this scarce good that people are paying a high price for. Would you tell them, oh, I got it from here, I got it from here? Everybody's going to get it then, right? You're going to hide what you got it from. You see what I'm saying? Like you got to protect your trade secret. But eventually they realized that it was found here in the city of Anyang. That's where they began digging. That's when they found all these graves. And you got to remember, let me go back to this wall here. This is why Wang Yirong is the father of oracle bone inscription. He's a great Chinese historical figure that doesn't get enough credit. Shang Dynasty official. And I got to tell you, he died shortly after discovering the oracle bones during the Boxer Revolution. Y'all can Google this. What is the Boxer? Boxer, like the boxers you wear, underwear. The Boxer Revolution. He stayed in Beijing, and he actually was, I believe he committed suicide at the end of the Boxer Revolution. But his name shall live on forever. The great Wang Yirong, the man who discovered oracle bones. So what happened right after is you got a mad dash of foreigners and Chinese people who began to come to Anyang and start digging. And eventually, as you can see here, they started digging. And over the course of all the digging efforts, they found hundreds of thousands of pieces. This chart here, this thing here says 150,000. I've read as much as 300,000 pieces were found. And when they are found, they look like this. All stacked up. They look like this. So they got to be cleaned up. And also, as you can see, when they found it, they found about 5,000 characters that are used. So that's going to be on these walls, 5,000 characters. Each character is going to look like this. Okay, and some of them have been translated, 1,500 or so. Some of them are in debate, and the rest not even in debate. We just don't know what they mean. Simple as that. We don't even know what they mean. So now let's actually take a look at these bones, and I'm going to give you an example. Okay, y'all see this? This looks like a shell, right? This is a turtle shell, most likely. Yes, this is a turtle shell, and look at this. Y'all see the writing that's inscribed on this? That doesn't look like a shell. Well, what about this? Doesn't that look like a large tibia? Doesn't that look like a large animal knee area, leg area, right? And then y'all see here, light goes out again, comes back again. This looks like more shells, right? So this one you can't actually see very well, but I'm gonna zoom in up top here. I'm gonna try to avoid this light. Try to zoom in. Y'all see those writing up there? Y'all see that? Very faint writing. Okay, so these are the earliest. I believe these should be the earliest oracle bones. This has to be some of the earliest oracle bones because I've seen some samples that are extremely clear in the way that they're written. Meaning, if you have a shell right here, and let me zoom in here, you could see writing all over this shell, right? You can see symbols, writing all over the shell if you look closely, right? And it's very faint. Remember this word, it's very faint. So it almost feels like they didn't put enough effort into inscribing it. It's not what it means. It just means that it was very fine and faint. I've seen shells where, and this is mostly, if I remember correctly, in the Shandong Provincial Museum in the city of Jinan, which we will go visit. Stay tuned for that episode, where you have a big shell like this. But the words are much more organized, meaning they run up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and they're very, very deeply carved. No longer faint, deeply carved. And the strokes are much, much thicker. So you can see it much more clearly, whereas right in this case, I gotta zoom in to show y'all that there are symbols. So if I had to guess, these are probably very early Shang Dynasty, very, very early Shang Dynasty writing. And then as it progressed, they said, you know what, I probably need to write a little bit deeper. I need to write a little bit thicker so that they can get preserved. Again, this is the oracle bone room. Really, really important. Really, really important. And I promise y'all, this is just the very early pieces they have on exhibit here. There are hundreds of thousands of pieces. Some of them, unfortunately, ended up in people's stomachs. Like, yes, they were literally eaten as medicine. Some of them made their way overseas. Some of them are still in China. Some of them are in Chinese Taiwan. So you're going to see them all over the place at different museums, including in private collections as well. But you're going to see a very, very fine example here. And then eventually we'll go to the Shandong Provincial Museum to Jinan, where I'll show you some of the finest examples of oracle bones I've ever seen. And this last one here, look at that. You see this structure here? Much larger writing here. The words are much larger. They're no longer small words scattered all over the place. And you can see structure up and down, up and down. And what does it say? There might be trouble coming. There will be no mishap in the next 10 days. Just talking to divine figures and trying to figure out, is there going to be problems? Look, y'all, before I move forward, I was reading this sign and I couldn't agree with it more. Think about the great ancient empires in human history. You got Mesopotamia, which I mentioned earlier, earliest writing in the history of humanity that we've ever found, and then Egypt. This one I've never heard of, but I'm sure it's very old. And then you got the Shang civilization. So this is why I make these videos, because I think a lot of these great cultures and great civilizations, they don't get taught enough. I didn't learn enough about Mesopotamia. I didn't learn enough about Egyptian. I certainly didn't learn anything about the Shang civilization or about Chinese ancient civilization when I was getting my education in the United States. So it's very, very important that I make these videos, because I want y'all to see this. I want y'all to know that this exists. And if it's possible, maybe one day in your life you can come here and see it for yourself. The great ancient Chinese civilizations. Beautiful. Beautiful. And this right here is what I was saying earlier. Among all these great languages, right? All these historical languages, this is where we are right now. The Chinese civilization is the only one that has had no rupture in its history. Now, I can't talk about in this episode why that is. You know, there are important figures like Sima Qian and the book that he wrote, The Analects of the Grand Historian, and things that had to do with the continuation of the Chinese culture. But that's going to take hours, and we'll save that for future episodes where I'll give you snippets. But I thought this wall here was really important. And this is why I do this, guys. I want to show you things that maybe we don't get taught in schools. We should be taught more of, but there's only so many hours in a day. So hopefully you guys find this video enjoyable so we can learn things together, because I'm learning just like you. All right, y'all, I'm approaching the last room here. Y'all can see this is the last room. I came in through here. This was the entrance. I came in through here. So this museum is not that large. It's not a big museum. If I just walk and I don't show, I just take a look at everything, don't explain, it'll probably take me 15 minutes to get through it, to be honest. Not a large museum, but everything in here is just so well made. I mean, these are things that you have to come on site to see. I guess the way I explain it is it's a concentration of different things from one specific era. That's what makes it so unique. And this is going to be the piece that we're eventually going to see the real thing. This is a one-to-one replica. And why is it a replica? Well, you see, that's what's interesting. I think about this as well. This right here is the famous Si Mu Wu. This is the ding, the largest, I believe, the largest one ever found in Chinese history, made out of bronze. Look at the size of this. The real thing is in the capital, Beijing. That's the real one. It's either in the Palace Museum or the National Museum, one of those two. And look at the size of this. Look at the size of this. Absolutely huge. This thing is huge. So all on the walls, you're going to see more pieces here. Y'all, I gotta come back to this piece right here. And before I do and talk about this piece even more, because I just had a chat with one of the tour guides and I gathered some more information about this piece that is going to be very, very helpful. But before I do that, I wanted to ask y'all this. Do y'all think I speak too fast? Let me know in the comments, because I was just thinking just now, I feel like I'm talking a little bit too fast. There's so much to tell you, so much to let you know. Am I going too fast and you're having a hard time understanding what I'm saying? Because I know that not everyone who watches this is going to have English as their first language. So please let me know in the comments if you think I'm talking too fast. I think fast, and I also talk fast. Let me know if that's a problem for you, and I'll make some adjustments in the future. But I wanted to talk about this piece a little bit more because I knew something about it from my online research, but I had a chat with one of the tour guides that just passed by here, and I confirmed some of these things. So first of all, even though this is a replica, we will see the real thing. It is sitting in the Beijing National Museum. So I've probably seen this in person. I just don't remember it because at that particular time, I was probably ignorant about what it means. Largest piece of bronze ding ever found in Chinese history. It was used to, something like this size right here, used to store grain, crops. Whereas those you see on the wall that are much smaller, they were used to store meat. Big difference. Meat, protein, this is for crops. And you can see right here, this is where the inscription is, right here in the back. Y'all see that? Right here in the back. Now this is where the dispute is going to come in. I said earlier, there was a dispute about one of the letters. There are 3 letters inside. There's a dispute about how to translate one of those letters. This is currently called here, 司母. The last 2 letters have no controversy. We know what it means, but it's the first letter, 司, that there is some dispute because the real thing in Beijing, in the capital museum, has changed its name of this thing to 后母. So that's very interesting. This is when they found it, right here. They still call it 司母here. In the Beijing Capital Museum, they changed the name officially to 后母. So why is that important? Well, this piece originally was made to commemorate a great queen, a great female general. This was buried in her tomb, I believe, along with her body to accompany her in the afterlife. It was built and commissioned by her son. Makes sense, right? A son respects his mother, loves his mother, has a huge thing like this made to bury her with, to show his everlasting love and affection for her. However, when this was buried, you got these 3 letters inside. When you're reading it, 司, the first letter, makes sense in the context of this. 司母, respect mother, I miss my mother. The second letter, mu, is mother, commemorating mother. But why did the Beijing Museum change that letter? Because now experts, archaeologists, think that this piece is actually going to make more sense if we take that first letter, 司, and we change it to 后, which is 皇后, which means queen in Chinese, because remember, she was a queen. And if we plug that word into a lot of oracle bone texts that we still haven't fully discovered, it makes more sense. So it's kind of like that word is a missing jigsaw piece, and if you plug 后 into certain undeciphered, unfinished puzzles, it makes more sense than 司. But that's what the tour guide was saying. She was saying that, but in the context, if you just don't think about the other pieces, you just think about this piece on its own, it's going to make more sense if you just use 司. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Let me know if that didn't make sense to you. I know that was a lot of information I just packed in here to talk about what that ding was, that big bronze ceremonial vessel was. But remember, you can always rewind this video and watch it a couple times if it doesn't make sense. And it's totally okay, because when I first learned these things, they didn't make much sense to me either, and I had to continue to learn, see new places, see new things. So it's okay if the first time you didn't really quite understand what I was saying. All right, now we're taking a look at this here. This is a chariot. I think it'll get a better view if you see it from this side right here. Y'all see these? This is a wheel. This is a partial wheel, and you can see the axle, the spoke. Looks very similar to the way that a modern vehicle wheel is constructed, right? You gotta have this thing that runs across. I'm not an engineer, so I don't really know what these things are. And then you gotta have axles, you gotta have spokes, right? And I'm gonna make a joke here, but I mean, those are rims, right? These are rims, right? So you have, of course, I'm not gonna miss the obvious here. We have a body here in the middle. This clearly is a human body that's been buried along with this chariot. You can see this platform up here. This is where the person would stand. So the person that's actually guiding the chariot, the horses will be in front, where my hand is. The horses will be here. He or she would stand here on this platform. And I'm not sure if this is actually the original owner of this chariot that's been buried with this. But I wanted to explain, if you look at here, see what's going on here? I'm going to zoom in. This is soil. This is clay. So what exactly is going on here? How come this turned into soil and clay? Shouldn't this be made out of wood? What is going on here? You'd be right. The original chariot was indeed made out of wood. This was made out of wood. That was made out of wood. Everything that you see except certain bronze pieces, bronze parts, they were all made out of wood. The bronze is going to survive. So if you take a look here, these spokes, these axles, these cages, these yokes, they're going to survive. But the wood is not going to survive 3,000 years of being buried underground. That's not going to survive. What's going to happen is that they're going to rot and they're going to completely disintegrate. But that doesn't happen overnight. Why? Because wood is going to take time. It's going to take maybe 10 weeks, 10 months, maybe a year, maybe 10 years to fully disintegrate into organic matter. And as it happens, soil that is buried in seeps in. Where the wood used to be, the soil seeps in. It doesn't just end up in empty space. Y'all see what I'm saying? So as it's rotting away, this wood, soil is getting in. So now what you have is soil that has taken the shape of what used to be wood. It is what nature has made. This is not man-made. This is what nature made. This all used to be wood. It's now gone, but it's been replaced by soil. And this is a gradual process that takes many, many years to form. So that's why when I first saw this, I've seen this before at other Chinese museums, I'm like, why is this made out of clay? Why is this made out of earth looking? And then I realized, because this was made out of wood originally, and wood is going to rot over a long period of time, mostly due to moisture and mold and all. It just simply disintegrates. Thousands of years, this is what you see. We're headed out of the museum now. We spent about a good hour and a half in here, just exploring the different pieces that they had, and more importantly, trying to study and understand what exactly was going on and try to piece together a story that made sense. So now we're gonna head out of here. I think this is the exit. Oh, here it is. You go up the stairs here. Remember, we're in an underground museum. So we're going to head up the stairs here, and then we're going to go to one of the biggest highlights of today. We're going to go into Fu Hao's tomb, the actual tomb that the first female general, the wife to a Shang Dynasty king, was found. Completely intact, never robbed, never disturbed. Absolutely amazing. I've read all about it for many, many years, and today I'm going to see the real thing for the first time along with you. I've never seen it before. I'm so excited. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what is the difference between king and emperor. Remember I said earlier, these guys are not known as kings, but they're actually known as they are known as kings. So the Shang Dynasty rulers were known as kings. Why don't we call them emperors? Well, emperor is 皇帝. That is reserved starting with the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, which we're going to show you. Stay tuned, subscribe to this channel. An episode on his tomb and his terracotta army protecting him in the afterlife. That episode is coming up. We're editing it right now. It's coming up shortly. But he's the first emperor of China because he united China and he anointed himself emperor. That term did not exist before he called himself emperor. Shang Dynasty, Zhou Dynasty, they were just kings. So what's the difference? King, 天子, means I've been given the right by whoever the divinity figure is. The skies, the heavens has anointed me the king of the people. Emperor's different. Emperor is even more substantial, even more amazing, more power, more control over the entire land. And now, let's look at where we are. We were just at the museum. Now we're going to go into Fu Hao's tomb. That's going to be on the left. And then later on, we're going to see some more stone steels of oracle inscriptions and then the chariot pits. So let's go into this tomb. I'm so excited. I know it may sound, perhaps it sounds strange to you, to those watching at home. Why is this guy so excited about a tomb? This is the Tutankhamun tomb of China. It's never been robbed, never been disturbed. So the archaeological and historical importance that it has for helping archaeologists, historians understand more about the Shang culture. And what's even more unique about it is that this is a female general. Like, she was literally leading men into battle. You can't make this up, guys. Like, she was leading men into battle. That just doesn't happen very often in Chinese history, right? So this is why it's such an important site. This, we just saw that was meant to commemorate her. So I'm super excited. We're walking towards there now. It is a very hot and sunny day. So we're about to walk in and we should see a complete layout of exactly how the tomb looked when scientists and archaeologists opened it. Let's go. In the next episode, we entered the famous tomb of the female general Fu Hao, the only undisturbed Shang Dynasty royal tomb. We then go to the very site Shang kings and queens are buried and discover the rituals of the royal families. Come along with us as we journey deeper into the heart of this beautiful country.